All right, so brief intro. My name's Neal Geschwind. I work for Ometria. My adjective is nonchalant. I'm not really sure why I went with that, but I kind of froze. So Ometria is a customer data and marketing platform. We help e-commerce retailers unify data and use it, or unify, and then also be able to orchestrate based on that behavior on multiple channels.
Hi, and I'm Dana Miller, and I'm head of marketing for Yes2, and we're a skincare brand, actually one of the first natural-based skincare brands to really launch into the mass market and really start and kick up that trend back in 2006.
Awesome. So to kick it off, not sure if you guys know, but Yes2 used to be Yes to Carrots. So was Carrots too limiting? What happened? Why'd you change the name?
Carrots was a little too limiting, and it's interesting. The brand has been around for a while. The actually brand recognition is fairly strong, but in order to get that recognition, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I work for Yes2. Awkward pause. Yes to Carrots. Like, oh, yes, we got it. We see the logo. So it is something that we're constantly talking about. However, having it right up in the name and Yes to Carrots, and the way the brand was formed was very ingredient based and ingredient forward and focused. So that meant every product you made had to have carrots. And if you not to get too into the mind of the skincare brands, but that was very, very appropriate in 2006, and it doesn't really fly as much today. We're looking for more options, more ingredients, and so the brand had to branch out. So the cucumbers were getting kind of jealous that it was Yes to Carrots, but there's the cucumber line. So we've branched out to now fruits and vegetables.
I was mentioning before that I could imagine all the fruits were picketing outside of the office.
Yep.
Awesome. So from a career perspective, why beauty?
So I've been beauty obsessed my whole life. And I think for me, it was really finding what's the right role in beauty. I actually, and we didn't actually talk about this, I don't think, but my major in college was an individualized study program. And my concentration was in the ethics and science of the beauty industry. And I thought I wanted to be in a lab, and I thought I wanted to be formulated, and I always loved the science and the how and the why part of it. And then after organic chemistry, I said, I have no business being in a lab. This is not going to work. But I love understanding why something works and how to help you find what's right for you. So I started doing my first marketing classes, started my first internship actually in the field at L'Oreal, and I was like, okay, this is the fit. And really kind of brings everything together of working on brands that are a little bit more science focused, a little bit more backed in that, but focusing on the business side and focusing on how to bring it to people.
Awesome. Very similarly, I wanted to be an astronaut as a kid, and now I'm in sales, so very similar. So speaking about the beauty industry, what would you say is like the biggest challenge right now?
I think it's, why are you here? And this is in no means do not want to offend any Hailey Bieber fans out there, but I think it's really important to have a reason to launch your brand and make sure that you're serving a purpose and serving a need. Especially in the US market, it is so overcrowded, and there is so much competition and really confusion on the consumer's behalf. You need a purpose, you need a reason to be here, you need a differentiating factor in order to survive in this market and not just be, a point in time.
Sure, absolutely agree with you there. So, when I speak to a lot of beauty brands, loyalty is really important. So how are you, within your career, have you handled, loyalty and trying to convert VIP customers?
It's so important. I think, we all know in this room, what does it cost to get one new customer versus what it costs to, have that lifetime value and retain that customer. And a lot of that in beauty, it's not just keeping them loyal to your brand, but it's figuring out what channel are they going to stay loyal to. Are they going to stay loyal to your D2C? Am I going to support them going into my brick and mortar? Am I going to push them towards my Amazon? So that's always something that is really at the forefront for Yes2. If you've tried to go on our website, you will notice that it is not D2C enabled right now. So we've got quite some work to do there, and that's coming. But previous to Yes2, I was with a really small startup. And we were at the stage where we wanted to actually send letters. So we would do this surprise and delight. and literally go through our metrics and go through our CRM, and I'm like, okay, what are the unique qualifiers I can put together based on how frequently you're purchasing, how many products you're purchasing, what you're purchasing together, and create small little individual cohorts. And what can I do for them? Is it a special email that they know is really for them because this wouldn't make sense to the greater world? Or is it literally putting a note in a sample in the mail and sending it to them? And we did that. And the response was, it's why you do what you do in a lot of ways. We got emails from people, thank you so much for this. What do I owe you? How much does this cost? I hadn't tried this before. This is now my favorite product. Where do I pay you for it? And we're like, no, we thank you for being a loyal customer. We are a startup, we are new. Spread the word, let people know that we're here, and come back and then buy the full size of it. But it was just so nice to be able to send like a little handwritten note to 20 people every other month and see what they actually did.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm sure many of you guys know, direct mail is making a massive comeback right now for sure. So, we're talking about, omni-channel, D2C, the Amazon's, brick and mortar. How do you really kind of balance all that from like a resource and budget perspective?
Yeah. And I think if you were here and heard Doug, I agree with his assessment on Amazon completely. You can't be afraid of it. It's here, it's staying. So if you don't figure out how to make your store and your space relevant, you're not going to last as long. So I like to compare the Amazon experience to what happened with home shopping and TV shopping. So the HSNs and QVCs of the world, if we kind of go back in time, the big retail partners were all terrified. If you go on QVC, you're going to be out of our store. What they didn't realize is going on QVC actually boosted their sales plus 20% right after the show. It was actually created a halo, it created brand awareness, and it was actually the most affordable advertising you could have versus being a threat. Amazon, to some extent, is a little bit like that. They will eat your lunch, though, in a different way. Like, they will come after you, so you have to have a point to be. And what I'm really trying to balance for a brand like Yes2 is this isn't a department store brand. This isn't a brand where I need to work on better clienteling. This isn't a brand where I need to work on better gift with purchase options. This is a brand where I need to get you into a grocery store more. I need to know that if you're gonna go into a Kroger or a Meijer, you're gonna pop down the beauty aisle where maybe you came in for something totally different. And you need to know that we're there also. So I'm trying to think of how can I support, especially with our D2C not active, if I'm doing things digitally, the easiest place for me to drive people to is Amazon. You want to click, you want to buy it. But how can my digital efforts also let people know on a regional basis versus like national advertising that I'm in your local supermarket or I'm in your local Target? And then what can I do off digital? How can I get creative in regional areas? And we're actually just piloting a program with some college bookstores, teaming up with some brands that are doing apparel and really testing things out in a different way where, if we've all seen Rush Talk, or at least I have, I'll admit it, and there's market there. And for a product that is, our products for Yes2 start at $2.99, college bookstores on campus are a great place for me to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of comes back to customer data, right? If you have the understanding of, what these zip codes are of, let's say 500 students in a specific area of a bookstore, you could run some emails, run some ads, and then see what the uplift is from the revenue from those specific stores. Absolutely. So I guess, and I know that you're still pretty new at Yes2, but what have been like the most meaningful KPIs for you in your career?
So in general, it's the things that we're always, in general looking at. We want to know what's the ROI, what's the return on ad spend. What I was really focusing on mostly on my last role was how to accurately calculate lifetime value. Especially for smaller brands, using your media dollars, you have to be so judicious and so tight with what you're spending. You want to make sure it's worth it, and understanding truly what is my retention and truly what is that lifetime value, because there's so many different apps and there's so many different plug and plays you can put in to try to calculate it for you, and the number is always different. So for me, it was always at the end of the day, how can I take those pieces of learning, but then really do the calculation on my own a little bit to feel comfortable and know how we arrived there.
Okay, awesome, appreciate it. So as the head of marketing at Yes2, what are some of the things that you say no to?
So we say no to a good deal because, and this is a brand that has gone through some transition. So I joined the team after the brand was acquired. So I've only been with the brand just over 3 months at this point, and they were acquired at the end of 2021. And it's a brand that people know. And it's a brand that when it started, its purpose was natural skincare that's affordable, that you can feel good about buying. And I think if we kind of get back to that root, that's where we need to be. In the meantime, I think as everyone in this room has probably experienced, like everyone wants to put their mark on things. Everyone wants to be participating in the latest and greatest trends that exist. And when I go through the old inventory and things that I'm looking at, I was like, can we just get rid of the butt masks? There is no part of me, there was no need for the butt masks. And I'm like, yes, this was a trend, but how does this, again, going back to like, why do we need beauty, like the biggest challenges in beauty companies? Pick your purpose and what is your reason to be? Our reason to be was never butt masks. And I know this is like great that this is all on camera, but it was about creating natural skincare products that were efficacious, were gonna work, and you could feel good about buying. Because that's what I'm seeing a lot from customers today. It's not so much that they need to be the most natural, the cleanest, the most sustainable. We want to not feel guilty about taking time and doing something for ourselves. And I know that can go into so many facets of a consumer's life. So if at least we can make you not feel guilty that the mask you're going to put on to give yourself 10 minutes of self-care, don't feel like that's going to go, right into a landfill.
So I didn't know that there were butt masks, by the way. I was
They are
never
not
targeted.
currently available, but I have a connection if you're interested.
Okay, that could be my specialization. Awesome. So I guess lastly, is there anything else that you like to share that you think you can make an impact on some marketers here, whether they're in the beauty space or not?
I think it all goes back to the authenticity of it. Why are we doing what we're doing? The biggest thing I've realized in my career is make sure that you believe in what the brand is representing, because then what you do every day is easier. When you believe in what you're selling and you want to use it, like I have a rule for myself that I won't work for a skincare company if I wouldn't give the product to my mother. Like I need to know that this is something I feel good about putting out there and representing. But just in general, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think we live in this world today where everyone's expected to know everything. And I'm so glad that the M word of metaverse has not come up, because I would have nothing to answer you with on that other than a lot of curiosity. But being able to ask the question, what the people I've worked with and the people that I continue to choose to work with are always the ones that are willing to ask the question and say, here's what I know and here's what I don't know. And I think that makes a good team, that makes a good marketer, it makes a curious marketer. And don't forget to put the customer first. Right now, as I'm kind of refocusing the brand, I was very, very stringent that like the first thing we do is customer segmentation data. There's no need to spend money on new artwork and new packaging and new marketing dollars if we don't know who we are marketing this to. And to always keep the customer at the forefront of whatever you're doing.
Sure. So when it comes to like segmenting your customers, is there anything specifically different that you're doing within those messages, or is it different copy? Is it different wording? Is it different photos?
We're not there yet. So what we're doing right now is really on the customer insight side. So just purely statistically significance, like understanding, digging into the metrics. And then the next point of segmenting, I think, is so crucial. I mean, if we're not doing, email flows and targeted emails and making sure that we're segmenting our audience and knowing, I know many people today have talked about different social platforms. Is my customer who's on Facebook, is that the same customer that's on Instagram, the same customer that's on TikTok? We know it's not. So should my message be the same on all those platforms? Should my creative be the same on all those platforms? And even though Yes2 is a more known brand and it's a larger brand, we're kind of right-sizing ourselves right now. So I don't have, the funds to do the TV commercials and larger programs, but I still need to make sure that the content that we're putting out there is relevant to the customer on each of those platforms.
Absolutely. Any questions?
Absolutely. So that's really important part of it, because so the average beauty consumer, it's actually gone up a little bit, but uses like roughly 4 to 5 products a day. And there are some products that just in general, and you probably know this from your own personal use, you're more likely to try something new on. In general, customers are much more comfortable swapping out cleansers than they are like a serum or a moisturizer. So it's good in the sense of, okay, a cleanser can be my entry point, but if you're really comfortable putting me in that spot and bumping someone else out, you're gonna be really comfortable doing the exact same thing to me for the next one. So it's kind of what's your entry product, and then how do I build you into a regimen? Once someone is using 2 to 3 products from your brand, they are much more likely to continue using you versus if you just buy one, it's highly likely that that customer may not come back, especially, in particular, we do a lot of impulse buying. So we're in your Target, we're in your grocery store, we're in your drugstore, and you can pick up a fun face mask for $2.99. Like, that's great for a one use. How do I get you to come back? Part of it is quality. If it's good and you liked your skin, you like the way it looked, okay, maybe you're not buying that mask every week, but when a special occasion comes up, you're gonna remember us, and it's gonna be like, oh, well, I did have a good experience with this brand. Next to this paper mask that I can buy for $2.99, I can also get a moisturizer. So how do I draw you in? And then to Neal, to your point previously about like the segmentations and the data, that's where I hope for us to get to on the D2C side, when I can be a little bit more closer to the customer and saying, okay, you've purchased the one, here's the sample, throw the sample in, get them on board. Again, it goes back to that lifetime value. Get them on board with the moisturizer, get them on board with the full routine, and they'll be much more loyal.
Because I can see some of the faces from earlier while you're thinking of your next question. To your earlier point, I'll ask the question for those that don't know, what is a butt mask? I can see the faces, people are like, is it look like a butt, shaped like a butt, it's a mask for my butt? Like, what are we talking?
I really set myself up for that one, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah.
Brought it back and people are like,
so there was a,
yeah.
I mean, listen, I've got some stuff, and we can make some trades happen. We're trying to move that inventory out. But there was a time in like 2017, 2018, where the trend was, you're like, yes, that was exactly when it happened. It was, can I make a sheet mask for every different place? So we started with the face. I'm like, okay, people are liking the face mask. What if I do just ones that sit under my eye? Okay, people are liking just sit under my eye. Neck works. Where else can we put a mask? So it is literally either cotton or like a biocellulose fabric that is shaped like a standard butt, and you apply it for 10 minutes, and you will be more hydrated, glowy, and lifted.
Oh, okay. No wonder some of you are sitting so comfortably today. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the team? Yes, in the front. Reminder, I know you already said it once, but for those that are new, who are you? Where are you from?
Kpis and Ometria. With beauty companies, there's a lot coming out. It's really competitive now. All of them are asking 10, 20, 30, 40 questions about skin types, etc. I don't think you do that. How do you remain approachable for people that come to the site whilst still gathering skin type, tone, shade, etc.?
So we definitely will be when D2C is coming, because I think one of the hardest things for beauty is shopability. And it always doesn't matter if you are the highest price brand or the most affordable brand. It is, what does it do and which one's for me? Those are really the two questions the customer cares about. And what's been interesting and I've been in beauty and particularly in skincare my entire career. And what's been interesting as I've watched different brands develop, especially in the D2C space, is how that dialogue has changed. And it used to be so much about, I'm going to call my products a very specific name, and I'm going to create my categories so that they're really unique and they stand out. But that doesn't actually help the customer. And a lot of those skincare quizzes, they assume you know something about your skin. They assume you know the right terminology to assess. So the last time I actually developed one of those quizzes, it wasn't the questions that are, tell me if you are normal, oily, dry skin. It was, at what point in the day does your skin start to show shine? Never, you're dry. Midday, you're normal combo. Immediately, you're oily skin. And giving that information to the customer, not expecting them to self-diagnose, but asking them the questions that if I were in a treatment room, I would ask a patient. So that's one of the unique pivots I took is I spent 5 years at L'Oreal, and then I actually left and got my esthetician's license because I could tell that there was just such a gap in understanding of what do we do in marketing and what's actually happening with as people are touching and experiencing the products. And that was one of the biggest understandings, was don't assume people have the answer, ask the right question.
Yes.
I'm Alexis from Basis. I know the DTC part of the business is up and coming, but how do you envision your relationship with those retail media networks and that side of advertising playing with the DTC and driving possible consumers to your owned and operated site?
I think the retailers are so important, and if my CEO heard this, he would not be thrilled. I don't expect a huge amount of sales from our website. I think our website, we are at the price point we're at. We are not going to be a free shipping on all orders website. So if you want free shipping on all orders, you're probably going to find that product on Amazon versus our website. If you're brand loyal, you're going to come to us. If your store, we have a lot of SKUs, so you can't find all your SKUs at your local store, so we're a great resource for that. And we're a great resource for education. So I want to make sure I'm driving you to the right spot, but also with this brand, other brands I might have a different answer, but with this brand in particular, I would have no issue if we had the tech effective enough that it works to be like, buy from our site or enter your zip code and where can you find it nearest to you. I think one of the things as brands and as marketers we get so caught up on is I want it to be D2C, I want the higher margin, like I really have to get that point versus how do I not lose the customer along the journey? How do I make sure I'm, again, customer-centric all the way through? If she wants to buy on your site, she'll buy on your site. But if I give you the option, if she's buying on my site and it's, but there's $5 shipping, but I give the option, I can actually pick this up at Publix when I go and run and get my groceries later. Okay, now I'm in your mind, and now you're browsing an aisle, so maybe you're going to pick something else up you wouldn't have otherwise.
Any other? Yes. Go ahead. Wait, I know there's new people in the room.
My name's Beth Hall. I work in Comsport. Do you have data to, figure out the consumer journey and if they've left, why they come back or how they come back?
So not yet for Yes To, mostly because the D2C really isn't functional. So I'm not able to kind of follow that path to purchase.
And I'm just curious to know, do you know why if someone has come back, what would their reasoning? Is it brand loyalty? Is it something along the lines of the product that I went to was just not up to par with what I was receiving prior?
Why they would come back to one brand? Yeah, did it solve my problem? Did it make my day easier? Did I like the way it feels? Did it serve a purpose for me? I often get asked questions, everyone will come to me and say, well, what do you do for your skincare routine? Tell me what you do and I'll do that for mine. And I was like, that's not how this works. Tell me what you're doing for not to diagnose everyone in the room, but come by anytime. What are you doing in your skin? The most effective skincare products are the ones you're gonna use. The one that looks really pretty and was expensive and has wonderful ingredients but sits on your bathroom shelf for 3 years does nobody any good and doesn't get a repeat sale. So again, that's why I feel like it's so important to be customer centric, develop products for what our customers' needs are, and make sure we're in the places that they want to buy and shop so that we're getting into their basket. And if you enjoy the process, if you like the experience, if I'm affordable for your lifestyle, you're probably going to come back and buy it again.
Yeah, see, one more quick one. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Toby with Basis. So one of the challenges when you are not D2C and you're sort of reliant on the retailers is that they don't give you a ton of information. How has that been something that you either are going over that hurdle, figuring a way around that hurdle? How are you managing that lack of data coming back to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real challenge. It's something I've been with Yes To for about 3 months, so we're rebuilding a lot, so it hasn't fully happened yet. But in past brands, I've partnered with my retailers and I've purchased data, and Ulta will, and I know we talked about Ulta kind of in the personalization previously, but Ulta will help you with that. There's a cost to it. And I think for most retailers, especially the ones that are a little bit more digitally savvy, there's typically availability to play in that spaces. There's typically a cost associated with it. And then the question comes, how clean is that data? You know, especially in the beauty space, am I shopping for myself, my partner, my kids, my parents? How do I know the data I'm getting is really going to drive sales? But there's also ways to get creative. One of my favorite case studies is not a brand I worked on, but at Ulta, someone was launching a lipstick named Jennifer. So like, pull up every Jennifer in the database, and we're sending them all samples. And it's something like that that's so, you think that's like, oh, that's so silly, that's so simple. Well, it worked.